What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Side Hustle Experiment podcast. Today, we have our friend Emily on the podcast, CrazyFlippinMom on Instagram and all other networks. She sells on Amazon, Walmart, eBay, pretty much everywhere, has a crazy group, and thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me, guys. This is exciting.
Of course.
Yeah. So how'd you get started with everything? I know that I watched you on a podcast. You said a lot of weights and pulls. I don't know if that was the main beginning, but that's how I kind of got started. So yeah.
I am unemployable. So that's how it actually started. I have never had a real job. It's just I've always been a side hustle queen. Always. And I mean, even before Reselling, I would put ads on Craigslist when Craigslist was big to clean people's houses.
Oh.
And I sold cars on Craigslist, and I did go for one job interview once, and I got a call back the same day. And as soon as they called me back, it was like an hour after, and they're like, "We love you. You should come work with us." And I was like, "Actually, I changed my mind." So that was it. I think it's just, like if you're an entrepreneur, you're always thinking of the next thing. You have like 100 balls in the air, and that's where you get joy and excitement. So I've always done kind of weird things like that to make money, which if you're another entrepreneur, that makes sense to you. Immediately clicks.
Yeah, 100%. For sure. So what was your first gig, I guess? So if you never had a traditional job, were you what was your first thing that you've done?
So
if you want the exact spreadsheet I have used to sell over $3 million on Amazon, how I track my buys, how I track my best sources, where I put links to my favorite sites. I have a spreadsheet that I've spent the last 2-3 years building. If you want access to it, it is absolutely free. Just go to the free resources section down below this video. 100% free. Now let's get back to the podcast.
My dad would get cars from the car auction in Kansas City, and I would sell them on Craigslist. So we kind of worked together. Wow. And I mean, I had little things here and there. I'm a musician, so it's not like a steady job, but like paying gigs along the way. And then I started cleaning houses. And then really I started having kids. Like my whole 20s, I have 4 kids, was having kids. So that's all I did for that time. And then that's what I was looking for. Like, I need to create some income here. How do I do that? Stay home. I don't want to be in an MLM. I don't want to have to go back to school, and I don't want to have family and friends to help me. So I had some stipulations, and it pushed me into reselling. And when I started selling, it was on eBay and Poshmark, and I didn't know anybody else selling clothes. Buying from Goodwill to resell, I didn't know that was illegal. I was keeping it very hush-hush, and it was part of why I created a new Instagram account, because I was like, what are people going to think about me doing this? This is weird. What if it's illegal? And all the things. So that's kind of how I started it. And as soon as I started selling on eBay and Poshmark, I was like, oh my God, this is real money. And it clicked with me. Like, it clicked units. Like, I just need to sell 100 units and I can, it immediately clicked.
That's funny about not kind of sharing on Instagram, because that's kind of how I started. I started flipping furniture, and I wish so bad that I documented it, because I was someone's going to find it locally. They're going to be like, you're ripping me off, or everyone else is going to do it. And then thinking back now, it's it's a local game. They could go do it. You could do it where you are. And then I was just like, oh, my family's going to think this is weird. And then when I first started telling people, they're like, oh, how much money are you making? I was like, well, I just finished the first year and it's $12 grand. And they're like, what? But I knew if it was oh, I made $10 on a set of chairs, it'd be like, you're wasting your time. I just didn't want to hear it. I was like, I just need to go test this out for myself and not have that judgment or I did the same thing with 75 Hard. I didn't tell anyone about it because they're like, oh, it's not healthy to drink a gallon. I just didn't want to hear it, and I was like, I'll finish it. Or once I'm halfway through and I know I'm not going to quit this, then I'll start talking about it. But I think that's important when you start something. Sometime.
Yeah, I'm really glad I documented it, but I think resellers catch a lot of shade from family, friends, but it's, I think it comes from not really being confident in yourself to know how to explain it, and really sharing. You're like, already, I just talked about this last night in my community. stop being nice. Like, stop trying to make people understand, because it's really not that complicated. Like, they're getting it or they're not getting it. But yeah, I'm glad I documented it, but I'm glad I did, because now everybody's like following me, the people who were shaming me at the beginning. So that's kind of nice.
Yeah, you get the messages, hey, can you teach me how to do that kind of stuff? Yeah, that, and the same ones hating on you. Yeah, love those kind of messages.
Oh, yeah, and you're like, oh, okay. I don't work for free, so.
Yeah. You can get on YouTube and figure it out from there. That's what I always say. Watch a few YouTube videos. If you can come with some actual questions, I'll help you. Never hear another response.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's so funny. Yeah.
So when did you start with the actual Amazon stuff? Like when was that started?
So I've been selling on Amazon at least 5 years. So a while. I feel like that's dog years, you know, when you've been in Amazon. So you're like, that's too long. And I really locked down during COVID. I really, like, you couldn't go to thrift stores anymore. You know, people weren't meeting for Facebook Marketplace. And so that's when I turned my attention completely onto Amazon. And that first month, I almost cleared $10,000 in sales. And I was locked. Like, my couple months after that, my husband left his job to help me full time. And we were selling hundreds of units, if not thousands, throughout the week out of my kitchen. I would say at most nights, I'd put my kids to bed, ship from my kitchen table all night long. It was insanity. And I did a lot of merchant, because if you're around back then, you couldn't ship it FBA because of the lockdown and the restrictions. And I really never looked, like, that first year was so insane. We never looked back, really. I think I saw the potential and just the ability to make money. There's so much ability and opportunity everywhere. Not just Amazon, but so many places. Is like, I never want to have to go work for a crappy employer, you know, in that situation when I can do this.
Yeah. I guess with the COVID stuff, I went through the same type of thing. And my biggest struggle out of COVID was like, how do I keep doing this without having these hot flips? Like you know how that, it was like everything was out of stock. So you just bought it, which nowadays it's not really like that as much. How'd you transition from whatever, the BOLO type of items to like carving out your own niche, which I assume is probably what you have now?
Yeah. You know, that's a really good question. I think that's where so many sellers have been dropping off, like Amazon clamping down on sellers. Every month it's something that you're like, why am I here? Why am I doing this? You know, they just made it difficult because they can. And I think I've gotten really good at what I was always drawn to selling, which is seasonal holiday products. And I always say I sell from back to school to Easter. Like, those are my prime months where I'm in the confectionery category. I really focus in. And then summer, I'm doing a lot of replenishables. I'm already doing back to school. If I pan my camera, I have hundreds of items for back to school. So, you know, like, the summer goes quick for sellers because, you know, it's half a month where you have kind of a break. And during this time, I get my books together and clean out my shit from shelves and throw away expired Christmas stuff. But yeah, you definitely have to niche down into something and really understand the category now.
Yeah, I think it's like an essential. That's what I always tell people when everybody's like looking for a magic thing. And it's like the magic thing is just something you can look at all day and get really good at. Like, if you can't do that, you're going to struggle so bad because it's just so hard, like, to pivot over and over and over to random stuff.
It's difficult. And I think everybody's first thing is, why don't you just do wholesale? And I go to vendor shows. But the crazy thing is, nobody has lower prices than Walmart. You know, like, for my back to school stuff at my last vendor show, I wanted back to school products. It's like twice the price as freaking Target. So, you know, I'm still riding that wave. I really enjoy it, and it's what I do. I focus a lot on Walmart now, so whatever.
Yeah, I feel like you just got to do what works for you. And, like, I think that's what a lot of other people say. Like, well, like, I think that's the other problem, too, is, like, a lot of people are just going to be like, oh, like, I went to look for seasonal stuff and there's nothing there. But, like, they're only going to look for, like, 10 or 15 minutes and they're going to be like, oh, like, Emily's full of shit. Like, there's nothing there. So, like, I feel like you really have to, like, take it seriously. Or I remember, like, I'm, like, jealous of you guys because I was selling books during COVID. I literally just quit my job, started selling books. And then in our state, they were just like, yeah, you can't deliver books anymore to my supplier. And I was like, oh, like, I need to pivot. And then like Amazon's like, you can't send books here. I was like, I'm never going to be in that situation again. So I pivoted. But yeah, like, I feel like you have to be willing to, like, I remember just scanning books, like, for every day, like, thousands of books. And, like, I'm so happy I don't do that now. But, like, you really just have to, like, be willing to put in the work and, like, learn, like, a certain category or niche and just kind of, like, yeah, like, if you're into Walmart, like, you could just shop at Walmart and just learn, like, their sales cycle and clearance and all that kind of stuff. But, like, everyone wants to, like, go off of the next best thing or chase the next Stanley Cup or whatever that happens to be.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of an ugly, like, reselling on Amazon is kind of an ugly situation sometimes where you're like, this is not glamorous. Yes, Emily is full of shit. She says it's easy. And I get so many people messaging me saying that exact thing. You said this was easy. Like, I don't think I ever use the word easy to describe anything in my life, but it takes a lot of time.
Yeah, so you say you're doing Walmart now. What was the big decision there to switch? That'll lead into another question too, because I'm always interested in what people think is going to be the future of Amazon, which it sounds like you're more bearish on it than I originally thought, because there is a lot of stuff popping up all the time with it, you know?
Yeah. So what was your first question?
Yeah, why'd you transition to Walmart out of Amazon? Or why are you more so on Walmart now?
I'm still on Amazon. I just am working on getting my store back together. I feel like the placement fee scared me off for a little bit, but I'm past the fear. I'm going, but I started selling on Walmart 2 years ago, and it was just another marketplace, and there wasn't like anybody talking about it. So we just opened up an account, like, let's see what happens. And I think it was right before Q4, having no experience. Well, I have a lot of experience from Amazon and selling, but just throwing over what am I selling on Amazon? Let's see what it does on Walmart. And that month we cleared like 40,000 in sales. We shipped it all merchant, and I was hooked. Wow. And again, nobody's like, now people in the last year or so, people are talking about it, but there's so much opportunity there because there's no sellers. And now I'm like, oh, I hate even talking about it because I don't want people to get on there, you know, and ruin the vibe for everybody because it's so good. And it's just like Amazon 10 years ago. It's pretty simple, straightforward, tons of opportunity. I had a box back here and it had like 70 units in. It cost me $500 a product, and it will sell for $1,500. So the flips are really great. Wow. I have niched into some categories over there that I'm not sharing here, that nobody's selling, nobody's thinking about. Completely different from Amazon. On Amazon, I am confectionery, candy. This is like the complete other end of the spectrum on Walmart. But yeah, I think because there's not the keep it charts, there's no data, there's no ranking, there's now some repricers, flash pricer popped up, but there's just no like internal systems to help you. None of the big sellers are there. So it's just smaller sellers who are willing to just test it out, pivot, see what's working, take the losses, learn from their mistakes, and keep moving. So I find Walmart super lucrative.
That's interesting. That makes me inspired to try it. I probably won't, but that is inspiring.
I think about it all the time. Like, I'm like, oh, maybe I should like venture over there or try it, but it's like, oh, it's like anything else. Like sometimes, like, I mean, there's probably like ton of opportunity there now because there's like people like me or like, I want to see like a couple other people I know who like sold on Amazon and like kind of ventured over there. I mean, I know a bunch of people like. I know like 7-figure Granny, like she's crushing it on Walmart as well. You're starting to see more and more people like go over there, but it's like another platform, like another thing to do. It's like, I don't know.
Yeah, don't come.
Don't come. But yeah, you see more and more people like market it. Like we used to joke when the podcast first started, it's like, who's going to be like the first one to have like a Walmart course or something like that, like because that's like such a right market, like that's for like someone to like take over and be like the king or queen of Walmart and be the person. I
do have like a Walmart course, so you guys can tap in and see it.
That's the plug it up.
Plug it up, yeah.
I guess speaking of that too, I was looking your community, it's an app, like an actual app.
Yeah, you go to the App Store, you download it on your phone, Android or Apple device, so you can carry it with you. It works like social media. You can post your wins, post questions all day. I am live teaching. This month I'm live teaching 3 times a week, and we bring in guests, probably every name a lot of the tools in the business have been there live. Sharing, John has been there. You shared about a year ago.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can access it on a desktop, but I didn't want to be a Facebook or Discord group. I wanted to be completely standalone, something that I own. And so we built out the CrazyFlippinMom app 3 years ago.
Wow, that's impressive. I don't even know if I know anybody else with like that kind of thing. So did it cost a lot of money to build like the interface and stuff? Because I've never even heard of anybody building an app like that.
It did actually. And funny enough, I was on a call last night and somebody said, "Where did the idea of this come from?" And so I was kind of sharing again because it's been so long. But yeah, I knew it was a good idea because 3 years ago there weren't a lot of groups, but the groups that were around were really good sellers. Like they've been around forever. And I feel like the vibe when I joined was I'm an idiot. Yeah, and I was. I didn't know. And I got kicked out of a couple. Like you had to post leads all the time. They had to be good leads. And so my husband and I was like, I think this is a good thing. I think we should make a community for small RAOA sellers. We just share what we're doing, learn from each other. And it's been the absolute best investment of my life. We maxed out our credit cards to invest in it and build it, and worked really hard, ate at Dollar Tree, got groceries at Dollar Tree 3 years ago to make it happen. And yeah, it's done amazing. It's my child, so I'm really proud of it.
That is awesome. Yeah, it's crazy you had the foresight to be like, I'm going to make an app and we're just going to hope it works. Did you have a lot of social media followers at the time, or was it?
No, I didn't. I probably had like 10 to 15,000 followers. So that's okay.
Yeah.
But I think I just knew like this is something I could do. Like if it's $50 a month, but I mean, I can clear $10,000 a month on Amazon. So it's like how much information is a small investment compared to the opportunity there for most people. So it is catered towards women, and that's also very unique in this space. Men are welcome. That's totally fine. But it's, a lot of moms who don't want a warehouse and employees and an awesome car. We just want to buy groceries for our kids and go on vacation and pay the bills. So it's a little bit different of a vibe than a lot of the communities out there. But I'm really proud of the community.
Yeah, it's funny you said the question here. I said, how do you have an app? Lots of moms, ? LOL. So you answered that one. I thought it's like lots of moms on there. I guess that answers that. That's pretty cool. Yeah, it's super niche.
Yeah, it is. There are guys, like I said, somebody also was like, do I have to be a mom to join? No, you don't. And actually, CrazyFlippinMom started because I started an email list like 5 years ago with Poshmark sellers. And it was just like, give me your email and I'm going to spam your inbox. And I would say, tell me your flipping story. Tell me your best flip of the week. So it kind of like came out of that, which was a long time ago for resellers. And yeah, so you don't have to be a mom or a woman to join, but yeah.
I think you almost like, I don't know, in my head I'd be like, oh wow, to like build an app, that just seems so like complicated and overwhelming. So how does the process work, or how did you kind of think about that?
So my husband is really tech savvy, but he hates he's a complete opposite. I'm like, if someone said, give me $1 million to be naked on social media, I'd be like, okay, I'll do that. And he's the complete opposite. He's like, you don't share anything online. Don't put, he's never had a Facebook account. He doesn't have an Instagram. He doesn't have social media, and he's totally against it. He's against like anybody knowing his name, his picture, anything. So we're complete ends of the spectrum. And he's like, would never, ever let me host a group on Facebook because of that. He hates that they steal your information. And if he comes on here or if he's around, he's going to be like, God, like you have to explain how we're just selling our lives out. Like he's very passionate about it. So he's like, you should do a group. You cannot use Facebook. And so he started connecting with service providers who help you build out a platform. And there's lots of them out there. And interesting enough, we got on a call with one and they followed me. The creator followed me. And so we kind of had a connection and it just worked out. And yeah, it was expensive and it was kind of a long process and overwhelming. And I feel like we almost got divorced a couple times, like trying to build it, but we're still together. So that's good.
Yeah, that's super cool. Do you know if anyone else has one? Are you the only one with like an app like that?
I think I'm the only one. I was definitely the only one when we started, and I haven't heard of any others.
Yeah, with an app too. I mean, I know it's super connected to you, but I'm sure if you ever want to like move on from this, you could probably sell that. That's like you're kind of building like a company there, right? Like that.
Yeah. The CrazyFlippinMom name has done like way. I think I'm a small thinker, and I always think the worst. And so when I look back and I'm like, wow, this is amazing. How many people have come through? How many people have signed up? All of that. Yeah, it's pretty amazing. And I'm so glad now my husband had the foresight not to do Facebook, because then Facebook would own all of that. And if Facebook shuts down, if there's glitches, like you're done. There's nothing you can do.
Yeah, that's always like scary because like I got my Instagram account like shut down. I pay a lot of money to get it back, and it was like really eye opening. Where it's just like, wow, like you hear people doing that, and like yeah, they violated terms, and I always like say like when someone says their Amazon accounts got suspended, it's like you did something. In this case, I did nothing. Like I literally woke up like I don't post like political stuff. Like I don't post anything like controversial. And it was just like, nope, like your thing is gone. Like I went to do the review and they're like, nope, like your thing is going to be gone in like 6 weeks. And luckily I knew someone who I sort of posted like saying they got their account restored and this person helped them. And yeah, I had to pay a lot of money to get it back. And it was like literally right before I was going to a conference too. So I was like, and then you don't have anyone's number. Like I have Drew's number or whatever. But when I was like, hey, could you post on your story that like you were shut down and like here's how you get a hold of him or something? Like it was just a crazy like realization, like, wow. Like this could all go away like tomorrow.
Is he glitched for you, Drew?
Yeah, it'll come back.
Oh. My bad.
It is freezes like sometimes, but you just gotta smile, look pretty, and just try to guess what John's saying.
Oh yeah.
Well, one thing I wanted to know too, what's the like pros and cons of working with your husband, like on all this stuff? Because people always say like don't get into business with family, but I have quite the opposite. I feel like that's who I want to be in business with, or I have bad family if that's the case,
Yeah. The pros and cons. We work really well together, but it took so long to figure out how to work well together and to separate some of the business from the personal. Because like you're going to bed with this person. So if you have a fight during the day, it's just really connected. And, like you find yourself going out for coffee or to hang out and you're just talking business. And so I think it takes like a new level of maturity and respect and commitment to have both, like a working relationship and a personal relationship. So it was hard at first because I was micromanaging everything. I was running everything because my husband had a very demanding job before this. So when he's like, I can help you, it took a long time for me to be nice and let him help. Like I was really mean about everything and it was wrong. And like I do things really fast and I'll wake up and I'm like, let's go walk 3 miles. Let's chug coffee. Kind of bro clubbish, but not. But I'm like, go. And he's slow. He's like, I need to meditate on the deck for 2 hours first. So we had to figure out how we worked. I can see why people don't do this because I think it's so much strain on a relationship, but we're good friends. Like we're best friends. So, we respect each other.
Yeah, but 4 kids as well. That's a lot to add into the mix. Like it's trying to manage it all. I'm sure that's really, really tough.
It's out of control. And my kids are involved. Like right now they're at band camp and this morning they're at weightlifting and my husband woke up at 6 a.m. to take them fishing. So it's nice that he doesn't have another job and he can help. And I always say he's way better of a mom than I am. He wants to do that crap. And I'm like, God, poke my eyes out if I have to sit at a pool and I'm not drunk, like I'm not doing that. So he's so good and patient at that. And I just want to work. I want to make money. I like connecting with, and it's not that I don't want to spend time with my kids, but so we're a good fit. But yeah, with 4 kids, it's not always fun and easy. And yeah, I don't take anything for granted. I feel like we have a good relationship now. I don't want to think about the future, but I think that keeps it good though. I'm like, I want to keep it healthy and strong and not just feel like we have we're together forever and just, I don't know if that makes sense.
No, definitely it does for sure. Well, you were talking about the separating the personal from the work. Like, can you elaborate that a little bit? Do you have like a cutoff, like no more business talk after 8 p.m. or something, or how do you do that?
We do.
If you're still listening to the podcast at this point, you are into it and a fan, and we really appreciate that. If you could do us a solid and subscribe, and do all that stuff, it really helps the podcast grow. And secondly, if you could tag us on Instagram, just take a picture of what part you are at the podcast. If you like it, tell us what you think about it. Tag me at Side Hustle Experiment, and I will definitely share it. Now let's get back to the podcast.
Do not, and it sucks. I don't know if you can say the F word on this podcast. I almost did.
But
it'll be like 11:30 at night, and somebody will message me and be like, "I can't get into the app. Something's wrong," and it's usually user error. So he's out of bed, getting his computer. Like, let me help this person. And we try to have some boundaries, but it's really difficult when it's your business and your baby to separate it out. We've definitely hit hard times in our relationship where I was like, oh God, this fucking sucks. And we talked about him getting a job just so we can have space. So I think it's our relationship is like the best it's ever been right now. So I'm really thankful. I think it's been respect, and also me, like, I'm kind of a douchebag because I want other people to operate the same way I do. Like, I'm like fast. It needs to be perfect and it needs to be fast, and he's the opposite. So also just being okay with letting him do it how he wants to do it.
Yeah.
So do you have like separate roles then? Like, you just like the buyer and he's like the shipper, or like how does that kind of look?
Like, he doesn't do anything with the selling. He takes care of the kids, the bills, the back end. He does the tech. When we hold events, he can run all of that, the websites, and I'm doing all the selling, networking, in-person events and social media. And so we do have different roles. We don't cross those.
Yeah, that's smart. That was another question. I'm like, how are you doing all this stuff? But it makes a lot of sense if you delegate the roles like that. That it's like, yeah, if you can focus on just selling video, what I'm doing, and then just like doing the marketing and stuff, and he's just like keeping everything together. That's really good.
Yeah. And he hates selling. He hates buying. He hates shipping. And one time I actually sent him into a store to get something I'd sold. And I was like, it's no big deal. Like, I go into the store all the time. Just grab everything on the shelf. It's not a big deal. I've never been stopped in a store ever. And I've had freaking cartloads. And an employee stopped him. And he'd only done this once. And was like, you can't take it all. It was canning lids like years ago. And he was like, I'm never doing that again.
That's a lot of anxiety getting stopped like that. Maybe it's a man thing, because I got stopped a good amount of times too. And I would just have to like jumble up and lie on the spot, and I'm like, oh, I feel bad. I just like, it's for children. And I'm like, oh, I shouldn't have said that. That's bad karma. But yeah,
maybe it is a guy thing, because I've never been stopped, and I could not believe he told me that happened.
Yeah, it's like I think going like RA is definitely different. I was definitely like hunting this thing like last Q4, and I remember going into and like I'm just in like a hoodie and like shorts or whatever. I'm just like probably look like a bum or whatever, and I have like all this stuff, and I'm trying to check out, and the credit card machine's like not working, and the lady
it's John's internet.
Oh man, can you hear it?
Keep going. Yeah.
So basically, like, the person was just like, yeah, like, your card's not working. Like, I'm sorry. Like, they were just like, basically, you have no money. And I was like, no, it's the credit card machine. And she's like, it is not. And then I was like, all right, I'll go to the ATM right now and get cash and pay for all this. And she's like, whatever. So I ended up doing that. And then I go to and then someone's like, oh, let me try to help you over here. And of course the card works. I was like, oh, I hate RA. Like, it was just like something like really stupid. I was like, that never happens. But like, I just felt like so shitty about it. Like, I was like, no, like, I hate this lady so much right now.
Yeah, I mean, I get questions from customers, like people walking around the store who'll be like, why do you have so much of, but never employees.
Yeah, so do you do more RA than OA, or what's your like split there?
I try to have it shipped to my house, and Walmart is nice because you can get more quantity if you buy it online and have it shipped to your house. I will go into the store if I have to, but like you really don't have to anymore with pickups and drop-offs and everything.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. It's been a while since I even thought. Yeah, they deliver it to you. I know they DoorDash sometimes, right? You can get like people with DoorDash in your house. Yeah,
it's DoorDash if you buy over a certain amount. So yeah, I mean, everything I just shipped out was DoorDash to my house. So
nice,
free.
And are you in your house, or is this a warehouse? Because this is like a lot of boxes and organization behind you.
Yeah, I'm in my house right now. This is eBay. We moved, and I had an office for like 2 years, and mid-year last year, I hated my life. I just felt like overwhelmed. It was not like I didn't want to be a seller. I wanted more time with the family. And so, kind of just like assessing the business and thinking, where am I going? Is this the right direction? And I decided to move out of my office. We sold our home and we bought a new home that I could have an office inside. And so we like completely, for me really, which was really nice. So we needed a bigger home, but so I could work from home and because I was just finding myself always at the office and late, especially during Q4, and I was never home. It's like, what's the point of this? So yeah, but this is my home.
That's sweet. Yeah, it looks like a warehouse. I would have thought it was. It just like is set up like that.
Yeah, I have a pretty good eBay store, so this isn't even all of it. I have a whole nother side for shipping. We have 3 ship stations, and I have 1,300 items. Oh, almost said units. 1,300 items on eBay. So we can do a lot down here.
Jeez, so you sell eBay as well, then? So you do eBay, Amazon, and Walmart.
Yes.
Is it just you and your husband running this whole operation and the child labor I'm sure you have at times?
No, they're absolutely freaking no help. And then my son has a Macari store, and he dominates his store, so he's also doing his own thing. I do have an employee who comes in 3 days a week, and she does eBay. So if I buy, like, I like to buy estate sales. That's a whole nother thing. And so we'll process it, and she'll list it on eBay and do all the shipping for that. So she comes in Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and does all that for me. So I always take credit for eBay, but I don't do it. It's returns and estate sales.
So one employee for everything. Nothing. Nobody's helping you with content or nothing with the tech and the app or anything.
No, we just don't sleep, and we're alcoholics, and there's some really bad work schedules.
It sounds like you need employees. This is great. You're doing like so much stuff. This is ridiculous.
Thank you for now. I feel seen. Thank you.
No, I mean it is a lot. Like if you think about all, because I know how much it takes just like when I was doing content and then just Amazon, I'm like, this is just such a big job to like focus on both these things. Then you add in like Walmart and eBay and then running an app and like a big group and all this stuff. It's like just a lot of stuff. Yeah, like I feel like I'd be putting out fires nonstop. And maybe that's what you're doing.
Yeah, I guess I don't know. It is a lot though.
But don't overthink it. I'm not trying to put any overthinking.
But I think that's like the hard part too. Like content just takes up so much time. Like when we're like, oh, let's do this podcast. Like, yeah, we'll just like get together, like get our friends, talk for an hour. It's like, oh, like when are you busy? When are you not? Oh, you gotta up. Like it's just so much stuff like that goes into it.
Yeah, content is like a whole nother thing too. Yeah, it feels like it's crazy.
So how do you do your content? You just on Instagram and YouTube?
Yes, Facebook. And Facebook is really good for me. So I focus a little bit different there. But I think those are my main 3 platforms. Yeah.
How do you come up with the ideas all the time? You have like are you organized with that at all, or are you just kind of spur of the moment?
No. I just wake up and I'm like, I try to think of like the edgiest way to say things, and then I go that direction. That's kind of the way. Quick. I feel like if you overthink it or you sit on it, you just don't do it. And so I just I'm doing content. Like I got ready for this. After this, I have to film something because I hate getting ready. I was like, you're ready. You're already here. We're going to film something and post it. But I don't. I should maybe plan it out, but I don't have anybody else helping me with content. And when freaking people message me and they're like, why don't you respond? Like, God, stop. So many people are like, why don't you respond? Like 10,000 people are saying this. I can't respond to everybody. So that's, I think, the only thing is when you do it by yourself, there's definitely, you could always do it better.
Yeah. Well, you can hire somebody to go through DM. Go ahead.
Hmm?
You go, John.
So you don't batch the content or anything. It's just like you just do it day of.
I do.
Wow. I do the same. I'm like, I should batch this. It would be easier, but I just can't sit down and batch it out.
No.
Yeah, I think it's hard like flow off the top of your head when you're batching like that too, because you're like waiting for the perfect time when it's like it doesn't really work like that. I think you're just more natural with it. It's easier, anyways.
Yeah. How do you guys do social media?
I don't do much at all anymore. I edit these podcast clips. I've been posting them, and then on Twitter, I'll just get drunk and put like 10 things in my draft, and then I'll tweet them out throughout the week. That's my content.
That's funny. Yeah, for me, I try to do it like daily, or if something's like going on, I'll make the reel. Like I used to have an editor and all this other stuff. I kind of just got like out of hand where like it seemed like a good idea. I mean, it was a good idea at the time, but to like just give them like stuff and chop this up. It's just kind of like you were probably saying, like working with your husband or whatever. It's like this is how it has to be done. Like it's just, you know what, I'll just do it. It's easier, it's quicker or whatever. So I've been just trying to do it like myself, and then YouTube. Usually when I come across something, I'll try to do it and just post it. There's so many times where I'm like, oh, you should make a video about this, or you should make a video about that. And then like once it passes, I'm just like, oh, that's a stupid idea. And then I just never make it. So I kind of have to catch it in the moment. And that's the other problem about working with like an editor. It's just like, by the time they edit it, you're like, oh, is this good? Is this like, so I just kind of went that route. But like, I'm kind of thinking potentially to get like another one to kind of do podcast clips. Because I don't know how to edit or do anything.
Yeah. It's cheap. Like I have an editor that like goes through and clips up like kind of whenever I want to, and I just keep it like on retainer. Like you get this salary, I'm not gonna make you do a ton of work, but I'll just like give you stuff here and there, and it's pretty simple and they're really good. If you get one on online jobs, it's like $200 every 2 weeks, and they're like elite at editing videos. So that's kind of how I looked at it as well.
Oh,
yeah, because I was trying to find one in the U.S. and people were like $25 a video. I'm like, yeah, you're an idiot. No shot, I'm doing that. And I found on online jobs like $2 or $3. So simple.
Yeah, this one guy hit me up. He's like, oh, I'll make a free reel for you. And I was like, okay, cool. It was awesome. And then I was like, oh, like, what are your typical rates? He's like, $40 a reel. I'm like, bro, like, there's no way. He's like, well, do you want quality? It's like, I had an editor who was doing this. He'd make 40 clips for like $500 a month. Like, you're out of your mind.
Drew, what do you do now? I know what John does.
Yeah, so like the first thing I started when I like was off the Amazon thing, I kind of wanted to do something that wasn't it didn't cost so much money. Like, you know, you're just always investing capital. So I'm like, I want to do something to where I don't have to be on the hook for capital, because I want to have a family in the future. I don't want to have the struggle of I don't have money because the money's in the business and we have like $6,000 in our account, you know? So I started doing like Instagram theme pages a bit. That's how I got into the video editing. Because first I was like, I want to learn how to become an elite video editor. And that was the dumbest decision. If somebody's watching this and think, don't do that, because you can get it super cheap. Like you don't need to learn how to edit like professionally, you know?
Yeah.
So I made those pages and I'm running a few of those now. And now I'm trying to like launch a fitness type offer without me. Like somebody else is the face of it, and then just like launch it like that. That's kind of my goal. And in the future, I mean, ideally, I want a group like you've kind of inspired me on this app thing. That would be cool as well. But like to help people kind of run info style stuff, like in whatever niche they're in, just like marketing in general. But that's like longer term plan. I got to make stuff work first. But it's been a fun journey. Yeah. And it's way different when you're doing marketing only instead of like Amazon and stuff. That's been the coolest part of it, I think.
Yeah. And I love like all of your, along the way, you have these weird skill sets you pick up that all kind of just help with the next thing, you know? So I feel like it all counts towards something at the end because you use all these skill sets for something.
Yeah. And the mindset stuff's like important as well. Like there's certain things like that I picked up with Amazon that apply other places. Like these other people, let's say you're running like ads or whatever. People like don't want to spend over $200, $300 a day. And I'm used to spending $3,000, $5,000 some days. So I'm like, $300, like what's the big deal there? Like I'm used to dropping 10K sometimes. So that helps a lot too when people aren't, you know, normally doing that outside of Amazon, you know?
I'm so bad at marketing and ads, so bad. So that's crazy.
You don't do any ads at all?
No.
You should get on that.
I know.
Yeah.
You need to tell me what to do and I'll do that.
In your situation, best thing to do is if you're doing something where you're promoting like anything, just promote it with money on your Instagram thing. You don't have to get complicated. Just promote, boost it, because it's going to send it to all your people. And you can, once you do it, it'll pick the audience, which easy for you. You know, you're like 28 plus women, which is like the exact, so it'll be easy. Yeah, I mean, even if you throw a little bit of money into it, like you'll be able to see if your followers are going up, which you have so many, maybe it's hard to track, but like you should be able to get some sort of, gauge on it. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
So it's just more on your plate. Sorry, but
Yeah, I'll be on that.
I'm just stacking it up there.
That's awesome, though. Yeah, that's cool to know, though. I mean, I didn't know. I have run ads from time to time for certain, but not anything long term. It's been like 3 days for a weekend course or something.
Yeah, that's not bad either, though. I mean, it's just tough. I think it's hard to like look at it and you're like, I'm going to lose all this money if it doesn't immediately return. So it's like a sinking. But if you're pushing it to your social media, you're just buying like an asset. Like all your followers are an asset. They're people that like you. I mean, not all the time, but most of them are, So it's like you're kind of investing in yourself for the future. And it's like you'll never lose that. Those people are always going to like you. Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like your content though is like so authentic. Like we were talking before you got on, and it was just like I was telling you, I was like, I don't know if I could like pretend I'm in a warehouse or pretend I'm in like a Target and like, oh, here are the socks, and like even though I'm all OA, like I don't think I could do that and like go that route. So yeah, I think if you just be yourself, that's always helpful.
Yeah.
You were talking about the edgy thing. You're trying to say stuff in the edgiest way. I think there's a lot of value in that. What got you to that conclusion? And then like, can you give like a little example of that? Because that's how you do viral social media stuff, by the way. But that's perfect.
So for a long time I wasn't growing on social media, and last year I was like, I gotta look at this again, because I really was around 30,000 followers, stopped growing, and I saw other people growing, my friends growing, not necessarily reseller, but I have other friends who are influencers who are dominating. And I made this reel, and it was probably like in my most authentic voice. And instead of like making anything cute, I just said, like, I bought this at Walmart for $3 and I'm going to sell it for $12 on Amazon or something. Stuff like that. That was really authentic. And you either loved that or you hated it. Like, you either thought I was the scum because I was price gouging, or you're like, I got to follow this woman and learn more. And it did really well. I got like 300,000 views, and I was like, okay, like that's something. So I just started leaning into, I think for a long time I was afraid of getting hate on social media. So you wanted to say things in the nicest way that wasn't controversial. And so then after that, I was like, I just need to be as controversial as I can, in this way, like just be honest. And I made several reels that did good. And then I had one that hit 10 million on Instagram and like 8 million on Facebook. And I was like, okay, that's it. That's what I have to do. So since then, I've been just like kind of leaning into that. Like when I start getting messages like, I hate you, you're an idiot, all these, hey, I'm going to kill you. I'm like, okay, I have a viral hit, because it hit like that is edgy enough to get people to stop and look at it. So I think people are holding their punches. If you want to grow your social media account, you really have to lean into the hatred and not take it personal. And like, would you watch your content? You have to give somebody a reason to stop, and it has to be like catchy. And sometimes I hate it because I feel like, I don't want to be, I don't know, skeevy or something online, but you really have to give people a reason to stop.
Yeah.
And look at your stuff. So
you're fighting. I heard someone say this one time. You're fighting someone's thumb. Like your content has got like, it's going to be so entertaining that they don't want to do this. Like it's very simple action for them to never see you again. Yeah. I have the same problem with like holding back my punches. I did like TikTok for a while, and it was just, on TikTok, it's 200 views. It's kind of like where you get stuck, and it's like that's bad content because everybody gets 200. I remember making one where I just went on a rant, and I'm like, I know that this one is going to pop, but I know I'm going to get a bunch of hate. And it was the only one I've had with like over 5,000 views. Like it did well. And I'm like, I don't know if I can do this over and over, but you gotta be able to withstand it. I don't know. It's tough. How did you get to the mindset of like, I'm just going to take all the hate, or like, I just don't really care?
Yeah.
Because 10 million views, I'm sure you had loads of hate on something like that.
And I mean, that was so I really didn't grow until last year. I really tried to figure out, and I feel like Instagram's changed again, and it's been really difficult to get views again lately, but that was last summer. I went from 35,000 to 125,000 this summer. So I grew really quickly. I grew like 60,000 people in just a couple months. So it was like fast growth after that. But I don't care what people say online. Like, I feel like different parts of me show up for different tasks. And, you know, I'm business Emily here, and I'm social media person here, and I'm like show up and network here, and I'm mom here, and I'm able to like differentiate all those. So when people call me terrible things, that's not me as a person, you know, that's just like, I don't know, it's just one aspect. And I feel like it's important to have boundaries so you aren't taking all those things personally. You know, I get fat shamed constantly online, like over and over. And I feel like it's just like one little small part of me from somebody who doesn't know me behind a keyboard, you know, like who never say that to my face. And it just doesn't bother me. I don't know.
That's inspiring too. I'm going to have to start making videos and not be a pussy. That's what it's like, the message, right?
You gotta show up.
Yeah.
You gotta show up.
I was thinking the same exact thing. Cause like, yeah, there's some stuff where like, I got a comment or something on YouTube. I'm like, ooh, kind of hurts a little bit. And then like I shy away from like making content like that, or even like Instagram, or there's just stuff that like, I don't know. I was like, I don't know if you should post that kind of stuff. And like in the past, when I do post that stuff does really well. But yeah, I mean, I think you make a good point. Like, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't. If you're not getting hate comments, I don't think it's good content. Like, nobody cares.
Yeah, so you have to create a polarity. And if you're going to get love, you're going to get hate. That's like kind of how it works. You know, that's this part of it. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's kind of ridiculous to think that you're going to blow up or get viral content or views and just everybody's going to love you. It's just not the right expectation. So you have to go into it like this is just a persona. It's a part of me, and it's not who I am as a person. I mean, sometimes it does hurt. It hurts more when I hear people in the community talking about me than just random strangers online. But either way, they're talking about me. So
yeah. You got a really good mindset with a lot of stuff. This is definitely, I'm going to be rewatching this and being like, I got to take this.
Awesome.
I feel like a lot of the stuff that you talk about and everything, I mean, these are like struggles I have for sure. It makes me rethink stuff. So I'm sure if I'm thinking that other people are as well. Like, I think there's just a lot of value here in the way that you like think about a lot of this stuff, especially like the app stuff. Like you see in the vision and then you just be like, I don't even care. You're very like bought into the dream, bought into the vision. It seems like, and without that, it's just tough. Like you got to buy into something. You know, you got to have like a mission with what you're doing. Yeah. And you definitely, it sounds like you do.
Yeah. And thank you for that. And I think especially young people who are like in their 20s, when we weren't doing this, but we found ourselves sharing our dreams with the wrong people and then getting butt hurt because they didn't understand it. And if you're an entrepreneur, it's a lonely journey. Most people will not understand it. Most people will think you're crazy. But, you know, I feel like that you just have to like see the vision yourself and understand it. And it's going to fail. Like some things are just going to fail. And that's just that. Like, it's just part of it. It's ridiculous, again, to think you can have success without failure. So if you are starting something new out there, don't give up. And when your parents don't understand, like they freaking bought their house for $100,000 and they sold it for $3 million. They have no clue what world we're living in. And stop sharing your goals with everybody.
Yeah, that's such an important point. I was just telling somebody about that. Everybody's like, because I'm looking to like get a house soon. I want to rent one. Everybody's like, why don't you buy it? And I'm like, it's not the 90s. I can't buy this house and then expect it to go up 4x and be rich when I'm like 50. That's not the way it works. Like a lot of times you're going to lose money on that house nowadays. So that's interesting you say that, because I'm 25 and that's the advice everybody wants to give me is like, start your 401k, get a house. I'm like, dude, you're like 40 years in the past, man. I'm selling shit on the internet. Like, it's not the same.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I would actually, we were just talking about that. And I don't think I've ever said this, but we've always owned. And when we sold, we couldn't find anything and we are renting right now. And it is the freaking best ever. We were just telling my husband, like we've always, from the day we got married, we've always owned. And we're renting and it would be hard for us to go back. Being entrepreneurs and already feeling so like sometimes are great and sometimes are bad. Sometimes you have cash flow and sometimes you don't. Like what if your furnace breaks or like we had a pipe here burst? Like that would have been terrible, you know? And so I think renting is awesome.
Yeah, people think that you're going to buy. People think you're going to buy it and then not have issues. Like, yeah, it's going to cost more. You're not just dumping money and losing it when you're renting. Like, you buy it, yeah, if your furnace, something happens like that, that's like a huge expense. It's going to just outweigh the rent would have been anyway. So, yeah, I'm happy to hear somebody else share that too. That makes me feel a little bit better about the direction.
Yeah. Yeah, we love renting. And my husband was saying it's nice because we already have so much pressure month to month cash flow, making sure I have money to invest. It's just like something off our brain to also like not have to worry about all the maintenance here.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree.
John, you got any more cues?
Yeah. So how do you handle? I mean, are returns as bad as on Walmart as they are on Amazon? Or how is selling on Walmart different than Amazon? Maybe some pros and cons.
The returns are like 100 times worse on Walmart. So yeah, they're really bad because Amazon, you're thinking everything is coming from a place to a place. You know, you get a refund once somebody takes it to a UPS store. So there's like Amazon doesn't have a storefront on every corner. Walmart has a storefront on every corner. It's very easy for customers to return. And even though they have a policy, they'll take anything and return it and ship it back to you on your dime. So it's a huge issue. So yeah, it's a big con. And there's seller support, but there's almost no like terms of service. Everything is a gray area on Walmart right now. So nobody knows. You know, when you ask them and you're like, this buyer is frauding me, or, you know, they sent the wrong thing. There's not a lot of policy in place to protect sellers.
That sounds brutal. So what do you do with all your returns then?
I sell them on eBay.
Wow. Okay. I've never had the patience for that. I mean, I probably should be doing that, but I've been lucky. I met someone when I was doing books, and he basically runs flea markets. So I'll give all my returns to him, and we kind of have like a deal.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of it, some of it's food. I try to just stick to categories. I know there's not going to be a lot of returns, so I do a lot of food on Walmart off and on. So not as much returns around that, but definitely like if you get in Halloween costumes, lots and lots of returns.
Oof, yeah, I heard Halloween is a terrible, like, costume and stuff like that is always bad. What advice would you have for someone just, like, getting started? I know you, like, keep it very real. So how would you, like, kind of temper someone's expectations before they start reselling?
You know, I think you need to know your cash flow. And I see a lot of new sellers like, I'm going to make $10,000. And then you sit down and talk to them and their budget is $500. And so I think the question is, how much can you afford? Mentally, spiritually, physically, financially, how much can you afford to invest in this? And just start there. I would say I'm a small seller, you know, like I just take what I have and reinvest. And sometimes that's more than other months. But you don't have to clear millions of dollars of sales each month for success. You know, you just need to like move the needle forward. So I think being realistic with your goals and being realistic with this takes 6 to 9 months to get off the ground, you know, to really understand it, you know, and start seeing money and progress. I think that's just my personal opinion, but it's not just overnight success, you know, for consistent long-term results.
Yeah, you have a good perspective on it too, I'm sure, because you probably talk to more beginner sellers than like most people ever will. It's like with the big social media and stuff, you probably see the biggest problems people have, like constant. Let's say, okay, if you think what's the 3 biggest things you think people run into at the beginning, like hurdles, if it's mindset or just Amazon or whatever it would be?
they think it's going to be, the success is going to be way faster and easier than they expected. And it's way more costly financially, and it takes way more time. And ungating seems to trip people up, and they'll stop immediately. Mm-hmm. But if you look over at the turnover rate for Amazon sellers in general, it's a huge number. And guarantee you it's just these small sellers getting in because they're seeing these little clips on social media. It's like at Ross flipping crap. And they're like, oh, I can do that. That's easy. It's not. And friggin' stop shopping at Ross also. But I think those things really trip people up. They just think it's going to be fast and easy. And especially now, Amazon now is not that way at all. And Walmart is a little bit faster, but it's not easy. And because and a crazy thing about Walmart, the velocity is not the same as Amazon, but it's like neck and neck. So you think that many sales happening, but at one point, there's millions of sellers, third-party sellers on Amazon, and like 160,000 third-party sellers on Walmart. So if you can imagine, it's like drinking from a fire hose, the amount of issues and problems, like the potential for money is there, but you have to put up with everything else. So it's a lot for a new seller over there too. I know that was kind of a tangent, but no. So even Walmart's not going to be as easy. The money is great, but it's just a lot of other hurdles.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. I mean, nothing worthwhile is really easy. And yeah, if everyone could just walk into Marshall's or Ross and walk out with a bag of money, yeah.
Right?
Everyone would be rich.
Wouldn't that be nice?
I got one less interesting question. This will give you a nice edgy one too if you want to take this little.
Okay. edgy answer.
Men versus women in Amazon. What do you see the biggest difference there? Because I'm sure especially since you run a group with so many moms, you probably have some men enter. Do you see any big differences with the way they treat the business or their personality styles when it comes to it?
Yes. I don't know how to answer this tactfully at all.
Come on, you're the edgy one, right?
Yeah, you really teed me up here. Men shoot their loads so fast in community. They crush themselves because women have a little bit, like women are connected. And so we're like a long game. Like, oh, I know you here. Let's meet up. Let's further this relationship. And it's not just money. Like, what's the end goal? We're going to get to it. And I find my relationships with men and social media and selling fizzle, like they're just end immediately. End goal immediately. And they ruin the relationship. And this business, whether you're in retail, arbitrage, wholesale, social media, is all based on connection, community. It's really not who you know, or it's really who this person knows who can connect you with this person. And so that's a big difference. And it is a male-dominated community, a lot of egos, and just really fake and fickle because there's no real connection. It's just, what are you going to bring me here? What value are you going to... And I even feel that way when I'm working with brands who are male-dominated, owned over female, is they're just end goal. Like, let me see your social media stats. Let me see, not connection, not relationship at all. And so that's just super off-putting to me. But I think women can do really well here because we're a little bit less emotionally tied to the money. So we can make better buying purchases. Because when we fail, it doesn't hit us so hard because we're like, this is what I think. We're like able to see the longer vision of it. And we're not as emotionally tied to the everyday money. So I don't know, maybe I'm biased, but that's kind of my answer. What was the question? Did I answer it right?
No, you did. Yeah, I think that was good. I've coached a bit of both as well. Obviously, way less women, but I do kind of see that too. Now that you're saying that, it's more of like we're gonna get here eventually. Like it's just fine. When guys are like, "Oh, it's not working. This sucks." That's like it's very quick. Which I'm like that too. I'm like, man, I'm not seeing anything. We got to go. We got to do something. Like less patient, that's like natural.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of it's just natural tendencies, but it's crazy. I enjoy working. Like, I have good relationships with a lot of guys in the community, and it's fine, but I really enjoy when a brand is a woman because I'm like, oh, God, I don't have to show them my stats. It's like this immediately who has a bigger, you know what? When we get on a call, so they, like, see me as a legitimate person and a seller, Whereas a woman, they're like, how are you? Let's work together. Let's build something. And I just appreciate that a little bit more, like being treated like a human.
No, it makes sense.
Makes sense for sure.
What do you guys see? What's the big difference between working with men and women here? Do you guys work with many women in what you do?
John probably works with a decent. Yeah. Now your group's pretty split, right?
Yeah, my group's probably like 50-50. I think pretty much what you've like said. I feel my group is different because it's not like I'm not pushing it where it's like, oh, I do like X amount of money. I'm not like getting them in like based on that. It's more like, hey, like I'm gonna show you how you could do this with or without me type of like vibe. I do think women are more like, yeah, this will work. I think they're just more positive about it. They're like, yeah, I could like see it, or they're willing to like try harder or go after it more. And then the guys are more like, yeah, like we want to make money now. Like if I did like a breakdown of the group, it almost seems like more of the guys are focused on scaling, and a lot of the women are focused on like building a solid business.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of what I've noticed from just kind of interaction with them.
Yeah, I think the big thing is like the natural, like guys are risk takers and like opportunists type of thing, and women are like safety, security. So it's like it just breeds two different types of like entrepreneurs. That's I think that's like largely true. Most of the time, that's how it is. And actually, I've coached a few, I guess, at this point. So yeah, I don't know. I always feel like every time a woman's hitting me up, I'm like, are they kind of attracted to me because I'm like this young guy on social media or what? So I don't work with many women now. So I'm like, this is just weird. But
that's hilarious. And I think I say all that like I'm kind of dogging on men, but I think I'm more of a man. Like I can operate well, and my husband is more of a let's be safe here. So we kind of have a role reversal. So I really get it. I can get both perspectives, and I think that's why when you find a partner, somebody you can work with, it's great. Like if you do have somebody in business who's the opposite of you, who can kind of like level you out a little bit. I think both are important.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that for sure.
Well, anything else you guys want to talk about? It's been an hour now, huh?
John, what is your group about?
So my group is basically it's called Advanced Arbitrage Tactics. It's a school community. And basically we do like bi-weekly calls. I put exclusive videos in there. And basically I teach people how to source and kind of take the business to the next level. It's a mix of beginners and some more, I'd say maybe more beginners, but there's also a lot of people in there that are doing bigger numbers. They're just trying to like get that community. I love the school platform. It's just kind of like a perfect fit for me. I really don't like Discord or Facebook groups. So it was kind of like a thing for me. And it was more like, it's $15 a month. It was more like, I could probably get a lot more for it, but I've done high-end coaching. I didn't want to do a course. Like for me, it's like the marketing of it. So this is just kind of like something that was like perfect for me, where like I could help a lot of people, and like I could also like sleep at night knowing they're getting like 10-20 times the value. So that's kind of how I had to do it. I've always wanted to do something. I've had a Discord, I've had partners in it, and it just didn't work. So this was kind of like the happy medium that I have found, and I love it. I've been doing it for I think about a month now. So
yeah, awesome. I've seen you doing stuff, and I've just been interested. So, and don't get a partner in it. Just own it and control it yourself. You're the boss.
Yeah, that was the biggest mistake I made. Like, I don't know. Drew knows a lot of the story. I don't want to really get into it, but yeah, it was just kind of like not the right move. It was kind of a knee-jerk reaction to like, oh, you have to do something, like have a group, everyone else has a group, and that's not the reason to do something ever.
Yeah, I think a lot of times, which I've fell victim to this so many times, like the partnership thing, you really have to go about it like, this person's great at this, I'm great at this, we don't like overlap. I think that you think, okay, they're good at this, I'm good at the same thing, it's going to just be amazing. It's like not how it works. It's very hard to delegate tasks like that. That's what I've learned. So it's like whatever I do, like I got to find somebody with a way different personality than me, so we don't just like butt heads with the same shit and not get anywhere. I think that's I didn't know that kind of stuff. I've just went through a few little partnership things like that, but I think that's kind of the way to approach it. But building your own thing, obviously. One more thing, I guess. What do you think about all the info in Amazon right now? I mean, you have like a professional type thing. So what do you think about people putting out, whatever you see in general in the space with different type of info? Is there any like things coming
as far as like gurus and courses and information and stuff?
Yeah.
I think
I think you like personally have a lot of merit to say here, because if you have an app, that's like professional as fuck. Like there's really that's like good. You know what I mean? Like that's a lot of effort in the product. I think that's the problem a little bit, is low effort in the product.
I mean, and I say this a lot, and I'll say it again in case somebody here doesn't know, but you can say anything you want on social media. And you can say anything you want. And I think before you invest in a course or you jump into a group, it is on you if you lose your money. Number one, you're taking that risk. And if you don't vet it first and make sure, like the worst thing that happens is sellers jump in to my community and they want to do wholesale or shoes or Funko Pop. And I'm like, why did you call, like what I post on social media to make you think I could do that? I'm a grocery retail arbitrage, online arbitrage seller. So I think you really have to vet your source. Because there's a lot of fakes, a lot of people just taking the information from Amazon and putting it in a chat GPT and making their own thing. I think if you've been around for a while, that's a good sign, and I think it's in this circle, we're all so connected, so integrity sticks. And there's a lot of turnover though. I don't know. I met a lot of these people in person. I'm like, oh my God, nobody even knows. Like I was just saying last night, maybe at one point when I move on from this, I'm going to write a book so I can tell you of all the assholes in the community. But it's not today.
I think that would be like a huge viral. You would really have to do a good job like hiding it. Like if you almost like did like an expose and had like an Instagram and just like let everything go of like what you do. There was someone who did that and was like giving away people's storefronts. I think their account got shut down. But yeah, it was insane. They're like, oh, this handle, here's their storefront. And they would share the Amazon ID and people were going crazy. One person's like, I'm going to sue them. It was insane.
Wow. Everybody knows everything here. And, in the community, like word spreads. So if you're a jerk, or if you're doing shady things, I'm like, how did you think like you were so awesome you were going to get away with that? But I have some good dirt on people who tried to get into my community as like a different race, a different, like there are guys getting in as women. And then I find out they're still in for information for their own groups. So stuff like that. And I mean, I don't know. I feel like I was just saying this last night, that integrity character always finds people out. I don't have to do it. I don't have to like get on and blast people, because it always comes back to them. But at one point I'm just going to get really drunk and let it all out.
Yeah, that's what I did on Twitter for a long time. It worked. That's my best platform. I would just be like, who can I beef with now? I'm just hammered sitting there typing.
Who were you beefing at?
Well, I don't do it as much anymore because where I'm not like in the Amazon space, my name was Drew FBA, like on my social. So like all I did was talk about Amazon info, kind of just like calling stuff out, like I thought was obvious. And then people were like, oh, this guy tells the truth. So they like me on Twitter. But now I just don't talk about Amazon. So I don't really do much at all. I would just not beef. I wouldn't like particularly go at people, more like go at ideas. I try not to attack people. I try to attack like their ideas. Which, like, I'm not trying to hate on you, but if you're an idiot, I'm hating on, like, the way you think, That was, like, more so what I was doing. And it worked. Yeah. I think a lot of people, I don't know, like you said.
You were, like, just calling out bullshit, though. Yeah. Like, everything that you were calling out was, like, people are buying fake labels. You can't ship a case of Prime for $5. Like, just, like, people would be like, oh, join my leads list. Like, we're sharing this. It's like, dude, like, that's not profitable. Or, like, they'd be like, oh, we rented a U-Haul and, like, went to Sam's Club and bought all this shit. And it's like, what are you talking about? So I think there needs to be more of that.
Yeah, the reason I even went that route of, like, kind of beefing and stuff is because nobody was really doing it in the Amazon space. Because I started, like, 2-3 years ago almost when I started growing the Twitter. I was like, for one, nobody's doing it, but also I keep like talking to people on the phone and hearing this stuff about other people. It's kind of throwing me off, like dirt and everything. And I'm like, I would think somebody was like really smart or whatever. And I'd get on a call with them. And I'm like, they're an idiot. Like this is, a lot of people were being frauds about this and acting like they're really smart. And I would see them on podcasts and stuff. And I'm like, this is just so disingenuous. Like just lying through your teeth all the time. And I cannot stand when people lie. So it's like, all right, well, I'm just going to go to war instead of put up with the lies. And it works on social media because, you know, good engagement, I guess.
It's good to, it definitely, if you see something, say something with the accountability, because some of these people are taking advantage of people just not knowing what they're doing. And I would say the other thing is just the egos. I'm sure this is in every space, but Amazon sellers think they freaking are creating cures for cancer. And that's the vibe in person too. At these like vendor shows, they think they're out here doing something special. And that's the stuff I do not like. I'm like, come on, like really, we're not doing anything crazy. We're making money. You know, we're like, we're not doing much else than that here. So I hate that. I think that's why I'm not in any of the circles, and I just don't take myself too seriously. And I don't put out that vibe either. Like I'm kind of an idiot, even in person. Like I just want to have fun and drink and laugh. So I don't think I fit those circles, but I don't like that at all in the seller space.
I've never been to any conferences or anything. People always ask me, and I'm just like, I just like to sit inside, but I'm not really like, I don't want to fucking hang out with you guys, man. Like, that's not my vibe, dude. Like, I don't want to, I got enough friends. I'll be fine. I promise.
Yeah, I think it's fun if you're going with friends who just want to act like idiots and have fun and connect. And I find the best sellers, like I found some huge connections, and they do millions and millions and millions, and they're the funnest because they're like, fuck all these people, these new sellers who think they're important. They've been around so long, they don't care anymore, and they're all like vaping, because I found out like all the important Amazon sellers are vaping, but they're so fun to hang out with.
That's hilarious. All right, you got anything else, John? The hour 10.
I don't think so. What are some parting words of wisdom you have for the people? And then where can they find you?
I think I've said it all, guys. And I've never like cussed on a podcast before or been so blunt. So don't come after me.
But that fits our podcast because that's basically what we do. We're just kind of blunt and kind of tell it how it is.
Yeah, this was
Thanks
a good
for
one.
having me.
Yeah, you don't know anything. Any promos?
Yeah.
You can find me CrazyFlippinMom, all social media channels. You can download our app in the App Store. You know the drill.
All right, cool deal. Thank you for being here. Leave comments down below, and we will see you on the next episode.
Peace.
Peace.